Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jai. So I'm going to continue from where Judah Karma left off yesterday. I'm going to read about a dozen paragraphs, and I've got 53 questions prepared to ask devotees. So please, everybody, listen carefully so you can answer these questions. They're right from what I'm going to be reading, nothing esoteric. So I'd like to start off by saying that, read something that was read a couple mornings ago. It's a verse from the Govinda Lilamrita, written by Rupa Goswami, and I'll just read the English translation. Let me surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the greatest, most merciful personality of Godhead. He delivers those who are merged in ignorance and offers them the highest gift, love of Krishna, and thus makes them mad after Krishna consciousness. So that's a very beautiful verse. And so a devotee has every reason to believe that they're going to be successful in Krishna consciousness and go back to Godhead based upon a statement like that. And that's not like an isolated statement. In the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th canto, in the purport to the prayers of Gajendra, one of those verses, Prabhupada says, only Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. Indeed, he's always trying to deliver us. He is within our hearts and is not at all inattentive. His only aim is to deliver us from material life. It is not that he becomes attentive to us only when we offer prayers to him. Even before we offer our prayers, he incessantly tries to deliver us. He is never lazy in regard to our deliverance. It is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he always tries to bring us back home, back to Godhead. Like that. See? So in other words, Lord Chaitanya, he's the I'm making it easy for you avatar. It's just like it's a gift. We just have to follow the basic program, chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 good principles, do our service like that. And we have every reason to believe that we're going to be successful. We're going to go back home to Godhead. Not that we're like great devotees or anything like that, but as we just heard, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, same person, are so merciful that if we just cooperate a little bit, then they do the rest. So we just have to do our part. Like Prabhupada would give that example. Sometimes his spiritual master actually gave the example. He gave this in New Vrindavan, one lecture he gave, that it's just like if you're in a well and somebody throws the rope down, you have to, at least we have to do that much. You have to tie the rope around your waist so that people can pull you out. So it's kind of like that. We have to do that much. We have to just take shelter of these basic things that Prabhupada's given us and then be confident that Lord Chaitanya, Brother, and Krishna are going to do the rest. They're going to pull us out. Okay, so we'll start our reading. Lord Chaitanya next explained that out of many thousands and millions of living entities wandering in the material world, one who by the grace of Lord Krishna and the spiritual master gets the seed of devotional service is very rare and fortunate. Does anybody know that verse? That Prabhupada's referring to a verse there, yeah. Actually, let's get that microphone active because it was pointed out to me after my last class, and I asked a question, the people answered, the people on the internet can't hear, so, well, yeah, somebody could be the microphone person, and whoever answers these questions, please get the microphone to them. Okay, so what's the verse that Prabhupada's referring to there?
It's just Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagavanji Guru Krishna Prasadipat Bhakti Lata Bij.
That's correct. Translation?
The living entities wander in this universe for thousands and millions of years, but when he meets the spiritual master and Krishna, and then his life achieves perfection.
Give the last sentence of the translation again.
By the mercy of the Guru and the spiritual master, the living entity who's wandering after millions of years in the universe, wandering, he gets the Bhakti Latavish, the zero devotional service.
Okay. Okay, reading on. A pious or religious man is generally inclined to worship deities in various temples, but if by chance, even without his knowledge, he offers his obeisances and worships and worshipful respects to Lord Vishnu and receives the favor of a Vaishnav, a devotee of the Lord, at that time he acquires the asset necessary to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is plainly understood from the history of the great sage Narada, which is related in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By serving Vaishnavas in his previous life, Narada was favored by those devotees of the Lord and became the great sage Narada Muni. So it says here, even without his knowledge. So what's that called? When even without one's knowledge? Yeah, Agyata Sukriti, right. And okay, here's the first question, okay? Who's the, first question is, among the sages, who is considered to be the greatest? Narada Muni. I told you, these aren't difficult questions I'm going to be asking. They're right there. And you're actually cheating because you have them right in front of you. Okay. So reading on. Vaishnavas are generally very compassionate toward the conditioned souls. Without even being invited, a devotee will go from door to door to enlighten people, to bring them out of the darkness of nescience by imparting knowledge of the living entity's constitutional position as a servant of Lord Krishna. Such devotees are empowered by the Lord to distribute devotional service or Krishna consciousness to the people in general. They are known as authorized spiritual masters, and it is by the mercy of such a spiritual master that a conditioned soul gets the seed of devotional service. The causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is first appreciated when one comes in touch with a bona fide spiritual master who can enlighten the conditioned soul and bring him to the highest position of devotional service. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said that by the mercy of the spiritual master, one can achieve the causeless mercy of the Lord, and by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can attain the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master. Let's see if I have a question in relation to that. Okay, here's a question. How does one receive the seed of devotional service? Yeah, that's it, from the bona fide spiritual master. Okay, reading on. Thus, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one receives the seed of devotional service. Then one has to sow the seed in the field of his heart. Just as a gardener sows the seed of a valuable tree, just as a gardener sows the seed of a valuable tree, period. After sowing this seed, one has to water it by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord, and by taking part in discussions about the science of devotional service in a society of pure devotees. When the plant of devotional service sprouts up from the seed of devotion, it begins to grow freely. When it is fully grown, it surpasses the length and breadth of this universe and enters the transcendental atmosphere of the spiritual world, where everything is bathed in the effulgence of the Brahmajyoti. The plant penetrates even the Brahmajyoti and gradually enters the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan. There, the plant takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the ultimate goal of devotional service. After attaining this position, the plant produces the fruit of love of Godhead. To taste this fruit, however, it is necessary for devotees or the transcendental gardener to water the plant daily by chanting and hearing. Unless one waters the plant by chanting and hearing, there is every chance that it will dry up. Okay, so we'll ask a couple questions here. Where should the seed be sown? The seed of devotional service. Where is it supposed to be sown? In the heart, correct. How is it watered? That's right. By the process of hearing and chanting. When the plant of devotional service sprouts up, when the plant of devotional service sprouts up from the seed of devotion, what? I'm asking these questions. Hang on. Okay, so here's the question. When it is fully grown, where does it enter? When when the seed sprouts and becomes a creeper, when it's fully grown, where does it enter? It was just said what? Yeah, it said Brahmajyoti to start off with, and then in that paragraph. All these questions are right from what we just heard. When it penetrates the Brahmajyoti, then what happens? Not yet. One step before that. It enters into Goloka Vrindavan, okay? And then when it enters into Goloka Vrindavan, where does it take shelter? Lotus feet of Krishna, right. And what's that considered? That's considered the ultimate goal of life, Prabhupada says here. Yeah, that is the ultimate goal of devotional service. And got a question here, let's see. What happens if the devotee doesn't water the plant by hearing and chanting? Yeah. Okay. All right, reading on. Lord Chaitanya pointed out to Rupa Goswami that there was another danger to be encountered while watering the root of the devotional plant. After a plant has grown somewhat, an animal may come and either eat it or destroy it. When the green leaves of a plant are eaten by some animal, the plant generally dies. Thus, one has to take precautions so that the plant of devotional service is not disturbed by animals which represent offenses. The most dangerous animal is a mad elephant. For if a mad elephant enters a garden, it causes tremendous damage to plants and trees. An offense to a pure devotee of the Lord is called Vaishnav Aparad. The mad elephant offense. In the discharge of devotional service, an offense to the feet of a pure devotee creates havoc and stops one's advancement. Thus, one has to defend the plant of bhakti by fencing it off properly and taking care not to offend pure devotees. Then the plant of devotional service will be properly protected. Okay, some questions? What is, so in that analogy, what are the animals that can potentially damage the creeper compared to, offenses? And what is an offense to a pure devotee called? Right, and how is it also referred to as the? Correct. Okay, that's good. So everybody did pretty good on that paragraph. All right, here we go. So, reading on. An offense to a pure devotee is one of the 10 offenses against the holy name. The first offense is to blaspheme the great devotees who have tried to spread the glories of the holy name all over the world. The greatest offender at the feet of the holy name is the rascal who is envious of such devotees. The holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna, and Lord Krishna cannot tolerate offenses against a pure devotee who, following the order of his spiritual master, is spreading the holy name all over the world. The second offense is to deny Lord Vishnu is the absolute truth. Since there is no difference between the Lord and his name, qualities, form, and pastimes or activities, one who sees a difference is considered an offender. The Lord being supreme, no one is equal to or greater than him. Consequently, one who thinks that the name of some demigod is equal to the Lord's name is an offender. The Supreme Lord and the demigods should never be considered on the same level. The third offense is to consider the bona fide spiritual master to be a common man. The fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature, the Vedas and such corollaries as the Puranas. The fifth offense is to consider the glories of the holy name to be exaggerations. The sixth offense is to imagine a perverted meaning of the holy name. The seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. It is understood that by chanting the holy name one is free from all sinful reactions, but this does not mean that one should perversely act sinfully on the strength of chanting. That is the greatest offense. The eighth offense is to equate chanting the holy name with religious rituals, austerity, renunciation, or sacrificial performances. Chanting the holy name is as good as associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas these pious activities are only means of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be performed for some material reason. It is an offense to equate them with chanting the holy name. The ninth offense is to preach the glories of the holy name of God to a faithless person. The 10th and last offense is to maintain material attachments even after hearing and chanting the holy name of God. The idea is that by chanting the holy name without offense, one is elevated to the liberated platform, where one is freed from all material attachments. Thus, if one chants the holy name and still chants the holy names and still has material attachments, he is committing an offense. Okay, so how many offenses? 10. What's the first offense? Raise your hand, please. First offense? Mata? You want to say anything more about that? I know, I heard you, but do you want to elaborate upon that? Okay. That was number one, blaspheme the devotees. And Prabhupada says here that Krishna doesn't like it. You know, if somebody's appointed by their spiritual master to preach, and somebody's offending them, they're considered the greatest rascal. Okay, second offense. Correct. Want to say anything more about that? Just seeing a little bit. Any further little insight you want to give on that?
Consider that the name of the Lord has the same value as the names of any other person in the world, like Jim and John and Harry and so forth. We should not give it have a casual or feeling that it is something cheap or ordinary. We have to have reverence to it. We have to look up to it. We have to feel that we are gaining the greatest of the greatest. When we have that attitude, then the Lord reciprocates with that attitude of reverence with His grace to enable us to understand it better.
Thank you. Third offense? Okay. Can you give an example of that? Disobeying the orders of the spiritual master?
The main order of spiritual master is actually to chant Hare Krishna, follow the principle, and try to preach. So, but this too is the most important. So if you don't chant, if you don't follow program, if you don't follow, 4X, this is offensive.
This is point.
Yeah.
Okay. Fourth offense? Dear Lalita?
To blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literations in questions of the Vedic version.
Want to give us some further insight into that really quick?
One of our service is to study the Shastras and understand the difference between ordinary mundane literature and the Vedic writings of the Acharyas.
Mm-hmm. And the book should be treated with the same respect as the deities. Prabhupada said that. That's an important point. Okay. Well, it sounds like everybody knows this. So we're going to go on. Let's continue our reading. Okay, so Prabhupada says here, there are still other factors which can disturb the plant of devotional service. As this plant grows, the weeds of material desires may also grow. When a person advances in devotional service, it is natural that many persons will come to him requesting to become disciples and will offer him some material gains. If one is attracted by a large number of disciples offering material conveniences and forgets his duty as a bona fide spiritual master, the growth of the plant will be impeded. Simply by taking advantage of material conveniences, one may become addicted to enjoying material comforts. Other impediments are to desire liberation of material name and fame by discharging devotional service, or to neglect the prohibitions. These prohibitions are mentioned in the authorized scriptures. One should not indulge in illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, or meat eating. Indeed, one should not eat anything other than Krishna prasadam, food offered to Krishna. These are the restrictions for one who is attempting to advance in devotional service. If one does not follow these principles strictly, there will be a severe disturbance in the discharge of devotional service. So what should one not eat anything other than? Okay, very good. All right, reading on. If one is not particularly careful by watering the plant of devotional service, one will instead nourish the weeds described above, which will then grow very luxuriantly and hamper one's progress. The idea is that when one waters a garden, not only does the desired plant grow rapidly, but the unwanted plants grow also. If the gardener does not see these weeds and cut them down, they will overcome and choke the plant of devotion. It is thus the duty of the neophyte devotee to cut down all the weeds that may grow by the watering process of devotional service. If one is careful to guard against the growth of these weeds, the plant of devotion will grow luxuriantly and reach the ultimate goal, Goloka Vrindavan. When the living entity engaged in devotional service relishes the fruit of love of Godhead, he forgets all religious rituals aimed at improving his economic condition. He no longer desires to satisfy his senses, and he no longer desires to become one with the Supreme Lord by merging into his effulgence. There are many practices leading to spiritual knowledge and transcendental bliss, including the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, the execution of austerities and pious duties, and the practice of mystic yoga. These all reward different results to their performers, but all these rewards appear to glitter only as long as one is not elevated to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Love of God is dormant in everyone, and it can be awakened from its dormant position by the execution of pure devotional service. Just as a person bitten by a serpent and fallen unconscious can be revived by smelling ammonia. After speaking in this way about pure devotional service, Lord Chaitanya began to describe that service and its symptoms to Rupa Goswami. He explained that in pure devotional service there can be no desire other than the desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness there is no scope for worshipping any demigods or even any other form of Krishna. Nor is there room for indulgence in speculative, empiric philosophy or fruitive activities. One should be freed from all these contaminations. A devotee should accept only those things that are favorable for keeping his body and soul together, and should reject those things that increase the demands of the body. Only the bare necessities for bodily maintenance should be accepted. By making one's bodily necessities secondary, one can primarily devote his time to the cultivation of Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy names of God. Pure devotional service means engaging all one's senses in the service of the Lord. At the present moment, our senses are all designated because the body is designated. So we think that our body belongs to a particular society or a particular country or a particular family. In this way, the body is bound by so many designations. Similarly, the senses belong to the body, and when the body is subject to such designations, the senses are also. Thus, one engages the senses on behalf of family, society, nation, and so on. When the senses are so engaged, one cannot cultivate Krishna consciousness. The senses must be purified, and this is possible when one purely understands that he belongs to Krishna and that his life belongs to Krishna. In other words, that his identity is to be an eternal servant of Krishna. In this way, one can engage his senses in the service of the Lord and such engagement is called pure devotional service. Let's see, do I have any questions in this section? I think I'll just keep reading. Devotional service is pure when one engages in the service of the Supreme Lord without any selfish motive and without being hampered by any material impediment. The pure devotee does not desire to live on the same planet as the Supreme Lord, nor does he desire the same opulence as the Lord, nor does he desire to have the same form as the Lord, nor to live with him side by side, nor to merge into his existence. Even if the Lord offers the pure devotee such rewards, he rejects them. The point is that a pure devotee is so much absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord that he has no time to think of any benefit beyond his immediate engagement. Just as an ordinary materialistic businessman thinks of nothing else when he is absorbed in his business, a pure devotee, when engaged in the service of the Lord, does not think of anything beyond that engagement. One who possesses the symptoms described above has been elevated, one who possesses the symptoms described above has been elevated to the topmost position of devotional service. And it is by such transcendental loving service alone that one can surpass the influence of Maya and relish pure love of Godhead. As long as one desires material benefit or liberation, which are called the two witches of allurement, one cannot relish the taste of transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord. There are three stages of devotional service. The first is the beginning stage of cultivation. The second is the realization of service. And the third, the supreme stage, is the attainment of love of Godhead. There are 9 different methods of cultivating devotional service: hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. And all these processes are employed by the neophyte in the first stage. If one is engaged in chanting and hearing with devotion and faith, his material misgivings gradually become vanquished, and his faith in devotional service increases more and more. He becomes assured of a higher perfectional position. In this way, one becomes firmly fixed in devotional service, increases his taste for it, becomes attached to it, and feels ecstasy, the preliminary stage of love of Godhead. Attainment of ecstasy is produced by executing this process of cultivating devotional service. When one continues the process of hearing and chanting, attachment to Krishna gradually thickens, and at last it is called love of Godhead. In the stage of transcendental love of God, there are further developments known as transcendental affection, emotion, ecstasy, and extreme and intense attachment. These are technically known by the terms raga, anuraga, bhava, and mahabhava. The progress from one stage to another is like the thickening of sugarcane juice. In the first stage, sugarcane juice is a thin liquid. When by evaporation it becomes thicker and thicker, it turns into molasses. Then it turns into granules of sugar, then rock candy, and so on. Just as sugarcane juice progresses from one stage to another, similarly, transcendental love for the Supreme Lord develops by stages. When one actually becomes situated on the transcendental platform, he becomes steady. Unless one is so situated, his position is not steady and he may fall down. When one is actually situated transcendentally, there is no fear of falling down. This stage is technically called sthai bhava. There are further developments within this stage known as vaibhava, anubhava, sattvika, and vyabhichari. When these 4 ingredients are added to the steadfast position of pure devotional life, there is actually an exchange of rasa, or transcendental mellows, with the Supreme Lord. This exchange in loving reciprocation between the lover and beloved is generally called Krishna Bhakti Rasa, the transcendental taste of exchanging loving sentiments between the devotees and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It should be noted, however, that the transcendental loving exchanges stand on the steadfast position of sthai bhava, as explained above. The basic principle of vaibhava is sthai bhava, and all other activities are auxiliary for the development of transcendental love. So let's try some questions here. See where I got up to. Wrote the questions, but I should have wrote down the answers too. Now I got to find. I'm trying to find where I get the answers to my own questions here. Oh, let's go ahead. Okay, so what should be a devotee's only desire? Yeah. Let me see if I can find these exact answers here. All right, I'll just ask the questions. I can't even find my own answers, sorry. All right. So, what example does Srila Prabhupada give for a weed of material desire? Oh, here. Hang on, wait, did I jump ahead here? Yeah, okay. What grows along with the plant? The weeds, right, okay. So what example does Srila Prabhupada give of a weed of material desire? What he gives an example of a weed of material desire. What's an example of that, of the weed? Well, he gives the example of somebody, if they become advanced, I'll find it. Yeah, that was it. And why can't I find this? Give me a second. All right. Yeah, sorry about this. Okay, next question. Yeah, that was the correct answer. Probably give the example of somebody, a weed would be somebody advances devotional service and people want to come and become his disciple. That's what he's saying. And offer a lot of material opulence and conveniences, and somebody could become attached to that, and so if they're not careful like that. Okay. I'll just ask these questions. What else is disadvantageous? Prabhupada gave another thing that he said was disadvantageous. Well, here. You know, I really apologize. I can't understand why I'm not finding what I just read. All right, heck with the questions. I'm just going to keep. I'm going to keep reading. I guess Krishna wants me to just keep reading here. All right. So much for the questions. The ecstasy of transcendental love has two components: the context and the cause of the excitement. The context is also divided into two parts: the subject and the object. The exchange of devotional service is the subject, and Krishna is the object. His transcendental qualities are the causes of excitement. This means that a devotee who becomes enamored with the transcendental qualities of Krishna becomes excited to serve him. The impersonal Mayavadi philosophers say that the absolute truth is nirguna, without qualities. But the Vaishnava philosophers say that the absolute truth is described as nirguna because he has no material qualities. This is not to say that he has no spiritual qualities. Indeed, the Lord's spiritual qualities are so great and so enchanting that even liberated persons become attracted to him. This is explained in the Atmorama Verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 7th Chapter, Text 10, where it is said that those who are already situated on the platform of self-realization are attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna. This means that Krishna's qualities are not material, but are pure and transcendental. So for extra bhakti points, is there anybody in the room that can quote the Sanskrit of that verse? 1:7, it's called the, does anybody know what that verse is called? That's right, it's called the Atmorama Verse. And can anybody, aside from Archie to start off with, can anybody quote the Sanskrit? Good.
Little first two lines.
Nice and loud.
Atmaramascha munyo nirgrantha api urukrame. I can't repeat.
Okay, anybody else aside Archita? Okay, take it away. You're close. Translation?
Even the liberated sages, they are attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the example is given of Sukadeva Goswami. He was already established in Brahman realization, and then he got attracted to the pastimes of Krishna.
Okay, that's pretty good. Reading on. The highest stage of ecstasy is characterized by the following 13 transcendental activities: dancing, rolling on the floor, singing, clapping, stretching the body, thundering, yawning, breathing heavily, forgetting social conventions, drooling, laughing, shaking the head, and hiccuping. Hiccups. Hiccoughing, which is, I guess, hiccups. Like everybody knows what hiccup is. All these symptoms are not awakened simultaneously. They appear according to the exchange of transcendental mellows. Sometimes one symptom is prominent, and another time another symptom is prominent. Well, we've seen dancing, rolling on the floor. No, nobody's been rolling on the floor yet. Singing, that we got. Clapping, yeah. Stretching the body, maybe. Thundering. Anybody thundering? Have we seen any thundering around here? No. Yawning, maybe, but not. That's mostly in the Bhagavatam class, not due to transcendental ecstasy necessarily. Breathing heavily, I don't think so. Forgetting social conventions. Drooling. Anybody experiencing the drooling exit? No. Vashanam, yeah. Laughing, shaking the head, maybe, I don't know. And like the Indians do. Hiccuping, no. Okay. These are five transcendental, there are five transcendental rasas or mellows. Let me just check the time here. I don't want to go over time. Okay, we'll just do the last paragraph and then we'll wrap it up. There are five transcendental rasas or mellows. The initial stage is called Shanta Rati, wherein one who is liberated from material contamination appreciates the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who attains this stage does not exactly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, for this is the neutral stage. And we'll end there. Thank you very much. Grantaraj, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Purnima ki jai.